Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Reviewing Comics with me, your host, Alexander Turbin. Today we're going to be going over something a little bit weird. Twilight People from Caliber Press by Mark Ricketts. Is that his name? Mark Ricketts. So he does everything, I believe. And it's from 1993. But before we get into that, I'd like to show you some of my own work. This is Random Access. It's a full-size, full-color, most of the time, but sometimes black and white, comic book that you can get from patreon.com/Alexander Turbin, or you can go to my website, alexanderturbin.com, and pick it up. Alexanderturbin.com has also all of my other works, and Mutandis and Forlorn and all kinds of other different stuff. Death Knights. So yeah, but you can get these at Patreon, and $3 a month gets you this, and it gets you a sticker, and it also gets you the backlog, complete digital backlog of all of my work that I've put on there, and there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pages. So I think there's quite a bit of content on there for anybody that just wants to check out the digital version of the book. So even if you just pledge $1 just for the digital stuff, you're getting a lot of content there. But I think really most people just like to get the comic book every month, and I really appreciate that. I really truly appreciate all my patrons. But alexanderturbin.com is where you can get all of that stuff. Or you can check me out at alexturbin0441 at Instagram, or alexturbin0441 at Yahoo, which is my email. So Twilight People, I just read it. I've never read it before, and I'm already very, very intrigued. There's a lot of times when I like just weird stuff. I just weird, crazy stuff. I love Grant Morrison. He comes up with the craziest stuff, and I love it. I gobble it up. I eat it. I love it. Sometimes you can't understand what the hell they're talking about, what the hell is going on. Sometimes it's like a puzzle piece, and you get one little puzzle piece here, one little puzzle piece there, and then by a few issues, it all comes together. Sometimes I'm not really into that craziness if I just can't understand it, and then there's something like I don't really get or something. Maybe it's my own foibles or whatever. Maybe it's my own problems, and I'm just not seeing them. Like Ted McKeever, Metropolis or something like that. I'm just not into that. It's just a little too, not too weird, but something about it just turns me off. But I love weird comic books that just kind of go off the rails and do all kinds of weird stuff. But as I've said many, many times before, confusion can kill a comic book. And I think there's a distinct difference between trying to be weird and having all of this weird stuff happening all with your characters or the plot or whatever, and just being unintelligible or unable to make coherent comic books. Oh man, I'm being really rough now. Making comic books is hard, like I've always said, and sometimes you try your hardest to make things understandable, make things not too complicated so that people can understand it, not crazy or whatever. And sometimes it just gets away from you, and like there's too many plot threads, or the characters aren't well defined, or something like that. And it's our responsibility as the creators to walk that fine tightrope. But then you have these other creators, kind of like Chris Knox, which is a good friend of mine, who does Honored Citizen and a whole bunch of other stuff. Excuse me. He does a lot of weird stuff, and he means to be weird. But he's also got things to say, like, which is very Grant Morrison-ish, where he's saying weird things. It's coming off as a little bizarre, but underneath that bizarreness is also facets of some kind of either story that he's trying to tell, some kind of moral dilemma that he's having, or trying to showcase or something like that. So Chris often does that. He often has a lot of morality in his comics, and they don't really always show through until you've read the whole thing, or until you've kind of looked at it in a different perspective. He's texted me a few times and said, "Do you understand what I'm trying to do? And or does this make any sense to you whatsoever?" And sometimes I'm like, "No, it makes no sense to me whatsoever," but I love it. And sometimes I'm like, it's spot on for what I think you're trying to get. And so, excuse me. Someday I'll get rid of these coughs. Um, so sometimes he's like spot on, and I can tell exactly what he's trying to do, what he's trying to convey. And so that's the tightrope that we often walk as creators. Grant Morrison is one of those spectacular creators where he can do crazy stuff, like have introduced Danny the Street to his as a character who is a gay street. And I often talk about Danny the Street to my wife, and I'm like, I'll say something about his homosexuality or whatever, and she's like, "He's a street. He can't be gay. He's a street." But that doesn't matter. If he identifies as gay, he identifies as gay. He's a gay street. What do you know? So it's all kinds of weird, crazy comics out there in the world, and sometimes they hook me, sometimes they don't, and this one has hooked me. So this, I'm always forgetting his name, Mark Ricketts. He's done quite a few things. He did he's done a few graphic novels for Image, I guess. He wrote some Iron Man for Marvel, so he's done some really impressive stuff in comic books. He's also optioned one of his graphic novels to a movie studio, or I don't know if anything ever came of it. But he's quite he's accomplished. He's accomplished. It's the kind of accomplishment that I would like to have someday. But not so much the working for Marvel, but just having, things done that are, people know and stuff like that. But this is issue number 2. So I have no idea what's going on. I looked it up on My Comic Shop, which is where I got a lot of my information, because a lot of the you Google it and there's just no kind of information on these comic books that either nobody's heard of, or there's just nothing that people have said about them. So I would maybe kind of like to start some sort of encyclopedia of weird indie comics or something like that. That would be a really great thing. But I could just never find the time to do that kind of thing. So I was looking it up. Comes from 1993, Caliber Press. I love Caliber Comics. They do a lot of weird stuff, and he's done a lot of cool comics and stuff. And I guess he did a bunch of comic books in the early 90s, and then quit. And then J. Michael Straczynski, I think it said, or is it Bendis or Michael Bendis? It's one of them, Straczynski or Bendis, was friends with him, and they talked him into going back into doing more comics, and he went back, and that's when he started doing his Image and stuff like that. So this is issue number 2, as I was saying, and so I don't have issue number 1, and a lot of times I don't like to review issue number 2 or 3 or whatever, because it's you're caught up in the middle of a story and you don't know what's going on in the beginning. And again, I wish there was some sort of thing saying that, what happened in issue 1, but there isn't. You just kind of get thrown into the story as it is. And I'm going to have a hard time conveying this story as it is, because it's almost like a dream sequence, the whole thing. A lot of stuff, you don't know if it's real, you don't know if it's imagined, if it's a dream. It's very much like, I think that this is very influenced by Sandman and Neil Gaiman's Sandman. There's a lot of things that they kind of intertwine a little bit, and I'll get into that as we go through it. But there's no intro letter or anything, which I like an intro letter in my indie comics, and especially if it's an issue 2 or 3. And I'm actually thinking more that getting into or reviewing a comic that's not a number 1 or a number 2 or whatever is good, because it's like Jim Shooter said, any comic book can be your first comic book. So it really should hit a standard or a bar that you can relate to, and you want to get more, even if it's issue number 5, and it's got to catch you. Every issue has to catch you. It has to keep you. It has to entice you. It has to do all these things in order for you to buy more issues. And that's really kind of where we're going. So now we're 10 minutes in, and I haven't even talked about what's what. So I looked it up on my comic shop, and apparently this is a twisted version of Lucifer's falling from heaven. And I don't know exactly what that means, because I have not seen anything other than there's an incubus and a succubus, stuff like that in here. Is the main character the devil? I don't know. It's weird. But so let's get into this and see if we can figure some of this stuff. So we have an autopsy going on. It's obviously, and he's looking at her tongue and her mouth and all that stuff. And I'm not going to go back and, like I usually do, show the story and then go back and talk about the writing and the art, because I kind of want to go through and talk about each one as I'm going, because it is so nebulous in the way it's done. Like I said, it's almost like it's a dream sequence. So the writing is very well done. It's these tiny little details that make a bad writer into a good writer, or a good writer into a great writer, or a great writer into a fantastic writer. It's these little things, like the toenails are short and painted. Now, a lesser writer would have said what the THE instead of the TH apostrophe ... So it's these little things that go into this. There's a part where the autopsy doctor is talking to their recorder or whatever, and they're explaining what they see and stuff. So he says sometimes, kind of like I do in my videos, because it's your brain, it's my brain, or this character's brain, kind of gathering information, going from one thought and then kind of pausing and collating information in your brain into like the next thought that you're going into. So it's it's a great writing because he has a distinctive voice, and it's very natural and believable and completely faithful to whatever this character is trying to build. I don't know his name. I don't know if they ever actually say his name. Apparently something happened to his friends. The death of my friends, Max and Corey. So I don't know what happened to them. I wish there was a little blurb, like I said, but I don't know what happened to him. So, but he has anguish over this. He's tortured by the fact that something happened to his friends, and so he's become an alcoholic and has all of these crazy dreams that are really very nebulous, like I said. And you can't really tell where his dreams begin and reality ends, and then where reality ends and then his dreams begin again. It's kind of odd. It's very odd, actually. He actually talks about, because he has this and also there's apparently his Corey is a ghost and trying to convey some kind of information to him. So I'm not sure what actually is going on. So like I said, it's going to be really hard to try to explain the story and plot in this, because I am kind of lost myself very much. But the thing is, it's so well written. The dialogue is so well written, and the plot is kind of it's not thin, but it moves around a lot because of the story that he's trying to tell. But it's so enticing, the way that the dialogue kind of flows together and the plot points kind of flow together, that it's interesting. I'm interested in reading it and continuing to read it, even though I am confused. So that's a big leap and a big change for a lot of comic books that I enjoy. So there's a ghost, Corey, and he's trying to get him to do something. The main character, I don't know what his name is. And if anybody who's read this and read number one, of Twilight People, if you could chime in and let me know some of the plot points of what's actually going on, and maybe some of these characters, I'd really appreciate it, because I would like to get Twilight People #1, and apparently it's even continued in an anthology, which is kind of cool because I'm continuing Mutandis in an anthology. So, and I can only assume that he meant to later on print Twilight People #3 from the anthology, but I don't know if he ever did. So he actually says that he has a dream, and in the dream he goes to like Jamaica, and one of his friends is at a dinner party or something, and he's surrounded by skeletons, and this guy, I wish I knew what his name was. Got a Jane Doe approximately. Nope. There's no. I don't know what his name is. Don't know. I don't know what his name is. That's another thing. If you're gonna have a main character doing all this weird dreamlike sequence stuff, then you should be showing his name at least, so you know actually who is talking, because there's a lot of first-person narratives, which I really enjoy. But here's Corey, and this is the main character, and apparently he's in the TV, and this is a dream, remember, and there's Corey, and all of these skeletons are around him, but then he wakes up. Does he wake up? I'm not entirely sure. It doesn't actually say he wakes up, although it does say, after I have one of those dreams, I just go get drunk. So something happened. Two of his friends were killed or died or something, and so he's become an alcoholic. I don't know why he feels like he's to blame. Maybe they tried to do something. I don't know if it's supernatural. There's a hint of supernatural stuff going on here, and that's what I like too. This is the kind of comic book, the Sandman-ish, the Invisibles, the kind of Doom Patrol, just kind of weird, odd, supernatural, not a whole lot of supernatural, but just kind of a hint of the supernatural in what's going on. So he goes to a bar, apparently, because he's a drunk. He's an admitted alcoholic. He admits it to himself, and he just kind of talks to the bartender, and the bartender's trying to get to know his story, get to know him a little bit, and he just says that something about ever drink a whole pint of human blood, and then the bartender's not impressed with that line at all, and he thinks he's trying to pull one over on him or something like that. Mister, I don't like wise guys, is the bartender's response. And one of the great things is, like I said, the dialogue in this is so fantastic. It's so nuanced that and so believable that it's just enjoyable to read, even if you're like a little bit confused, and actually the confusion actually makes it a little bit more enjoyable, because you're grasping for straws of what is going to finally make some of this come together, and so I understand what's going on. So they keep having this conversation. I think he's talking about the incubuses and succubuses and stuff like that. And the bartender's like, doesn't sound too bad to me, having 3 women trying to suck your blood. And then it kind of just goes back to him being in bed. So it goes from scene to scene. I don't know if this is a flashback or not. Sometimes I've talked about flashbacks and whether or not you should say, days late, days before, or something like that, or whether it feels natural. This does not feel natural, because there's no indication of him having that kind of a flashback. Like, is he having a memory? Is it a false memory? Is it a dream? I don't know. I mean, he was talking about the 3 girls previously, and then this kind of happens where he's in bed, and then they kind of show up. So I don't know. And then the next scene is him back at the bar. So I don't know if this is a part of a dream, or if it's a flashback or something. I really kind of wish that I had some kind of knowledge about whether or not all of that is happening. So more of this really fantastic dialogue, where another patron in the bar is having, he kind of injects himself into the conversation, and talking about dreams, and his dog, barking or chasing stuff in his dreams, and they have this like little nuanced dialogue that has nothing really to do with the bigger story. It's just it's so realistic and feels like that is what would happen in the story. Another thing, one of the things about the art is it is so open. Like, it's very clean. All his art is super clean, and there's not a lot of like foreshortening going on. There's no action. There's just this guy at the bar and the bartender kind of talking. It's almost talking heads, but because this guy knows his narrative art so well, he changes the panel layouts or the panel directions. He changes the way that somebody's looking around, or just he changes the positive negative space that the panels have, and so it's enough excitement in the storytelling and the narrative art that it doesn't have to be an action-packed story for it to be entertaining. It's entertaining within itself. Also, the dialogue is entertaining, so you've got that to convey not action, but the story and the drama. See, that's the thing about books that don't have a lot of action, or they have an appropriate amount of action. They're not all action. They're relying on drama. They're relying on surprise incidents. They're relying on good dialogue. They're relying on all of these different things to kind of take the place of all of this missing action that's going on. There's not a lot of action in like Mouse, and yet it is one of the greatest masterpiece comic books of all time. So to think that you need a lot of action in a comic book is just kind of silly. But at the same time, you have to have it. You have to have the comic book have enough other elements to make it kind of supersede the missing action that you have or you don't have. So they just keep talking about dreams and stuff, and this guy has had some sort of dream. I think this is supposed to be one of the incubus or succubus or whatever, and he kicked her head off. But I don't know if that's a dream or not. But the bartender, he gets really irritated, and it shows in his body language and his dialogue and stuff. And eventually, though, Corey takes over the bartender's mind, but this guy, he doesn't believe that Corey, the ghost, is taking over his mind and his body. And Corey gives off this, he starts telling him all of this stuff, trying to convey that they were best friends, and he knows all of this stuff. And how could he not know it if he wasn't Corey? So he doesn't believe it. And he doesn't want to confront any of this supernatural stuff that's going on. That's why he's an alcoholic, and he goes la 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 la. So he doesn't want to hear any of this stuff. And so the Corey, the ghost, just kind of leaves the bartender, and somebody from the back just kind of pokes her head out, and she's like, what kind of weird stuff's going on? And the bartender pretty much kicks him out of the bar. He had insinuated that he was going to anyway earlier when he was talking about drinking the pint of blood, but he never did. But he's like, I'm just going to leave. I'm just going to go. Anyway, whoever the main character's name is. And then I think we go to the afterlife, because there's either death or something like that. And I believe this is Corey, and I don't know. This is where I really get confused because I think this is the afterlife, and Corey or Max, I think it's Corey though, is trying to get help from the main character, maybe to bring him back, maybe to convey some sort of information that he wants to convey to him. I'm not entirely sure about that. But this death character has all of these little nuances that he's giving Corey enough information, like he's leading him on a path. Like he had to have the main character, I guess, drink some blood in order to do something. But then Corey's like, why isn't he doing what I want him to do? And this death character is like, oh, you have to have him do something else. And and do that. But if it doesn't happen, now that he's drunk the blood, the twisting is going to happen, and he has he relays some sort of bad thing, which is twisting, where I think his whole body just kind of contorts and twists until he kills himself. And then it cuts to another scene that I don't know any of these characters. After this whole death scene, I don't know who these two characters are, but there's some sort of occultist or something, because at the end, what if we were to give that little urchin Maxine her soul back? So I guess Maxine is Max is Maxine. I wish I had read issue number 1, and I'm going to get issue number 1, and because there's just enough of the supernatural stuff going on, the occultists and stuff, which I love cultists, to pique my interest. My interest is super piqued, and I'm really ready to know some of this stuff's going on. The dude's walking along, and he's just kind of giving his own little internal monologue, talking about being drunk and all of this stuff. Just, he's trying to piece together some of the weird things that are happening in his life. And he goes along and he's walking across the bridge, and then this character comes along, and he thinks he's the creature person is a homeless person. And he's like, I don't have any change or whatever. But I think it's some sort of imp or elf or demon or something. And it's trying to get this character to do something. See, one of the problems for this book, and it's not really, it is a problem because I want some of these questions answered before I get lost and don't care anymore. So they're stringing me along just long enough for me to pique my interest and really want to know what's going on because of the great writing and the great art. But it's only gonna last so long. This confusion is only gonna last so long if there's no kind of tying things together or something. So they're just walking along, and this imp or whatever is trying to get this character to do something, and then there's this afterlife death person, and then Corey, and I don't know. This whole scene, this whole sequence is they're trying to convey something. I don't know what it is. I think Corey is a little confused as well, and I think he doesn't have all of the information. I think he's dead, and he's trying to either come back or something else is trying to happen, and he has this person giving him a little bit of information on what to do and things to do, but he doesn't really know what's going on. And then it just kind of devolves into this weird characters. I don't know if it's a dream sequence, but you've got this death person. I think it is. I think there's death, and I think these skeletons are just there to represent death. And yet I don't know who this is. I don't know if this is Maxine and she's dead, and they're on the other side of the realm of the dead. And this is, I don't know who this is. Is this the guy from here? Is that guy? I just don't know. There's too many questions, and I wish there were some more answers. So the guy comes back to his apartment. No, he goes to another bar, and in the bar there's just this weird stuff. And this is why I think it's so influenced by Sandman and Dream and all that stuff, because this panel here looks like it is completely a Sandman-ish thing, where either these people are dead, and this kind of pig is oh no, this is a person. I thought it was a pig, but this person is kind of strung up and killed and stuff. I don't know if it's real. He doesn't know if it's real. He's drunk, and so it has all of these emotions and all of this thoughts going in his head. He keeps saying that he needs an alibi, but he just doesn't know. And this girl, creature, demon, imp, elf thing has this book, and she wants him to take it and have it. Maybe he's Lucifer. I don't know. So many of these things I wish I knew. And then I guess he's going back to his apartment, and then this incubus, succubus, something demon smashes through a Oh no, it's a harpy. Smashes through his apartment with a motorcycle and crashes it, and it just kind of attacks him or whatever. And so she turns into the harpy and she attacks him, but he grabs her, and then a ghost. I don't know. He has some sort of magical power, and he casts her out, or yes, I think he casts her out. I think no, I'm blacking out. So I have no idea. I think maybe Corey is helping him somehow. So there is just a lot of unanswered questions. There's a lot of unanswered questions, and there's this harpy. You're killing me, and so I don't know. Then he goes back to sleep, and he wakes up, and his face is all twisted because they're talking about the twisting. Remember, and then it says continued. Continued where in that anthology? Because I don't think there was ever an issue 3. So let's look at the credits. Mark Rickett is the creator. Gary Reed's publisher. Katie Tovinen cover photo design. Rick Conrad title, logo, credits, and twisting photos. And then we have the editor and production and stuff. So I don't know. I don't know how to rate this. I really love the dialogue, and I really like the art. It's simple. It's some of the shading reminds me of something that a Power Comics artist would do, but at the same time, there's enough like this hatching here looks like something a Power Comics person might do, but it has enough professionalism, enough confidence. I think that's the true word there, is the confidence to kind of use it in a way that is pleasing. And so much of the art is really nice. It's not in your face. Like I said, it's not there to have a lot of action. It's there to convey the story, and doing it in an intelligent and fun and interesting way. And I think he does that. So I really love the narrative art, and I really love the panel layouts. I really like his figure drawings, and his facial figures, and his emotional things on his faces. The emotions on his faces, rather. So I really enjoyed the art, and I really enjoyed the dialogue. It's a little bit frustrating because I'm a little too confused. I really wish that half of this was the confusion part, which the addition of all of the dreams and all of that stuff is really cool. But then I wish the second half would have some sort of resolution, or some sort of answers to some of these questions. I know it's continued, but since I didn't read the first issue, I don't really know what's going on. So the confusion is a little bit high. So Twilight People, I'm going to give it an 8. I would love to give it more, but the confusion factor really just it's too much to give it anything higher than an 8. But I can't give it lower than a 7 because I am so interested in the story and the plot, and I love the art and all of this stuff. So I want to get the next issue, and I want to get the first issue. So if I see it in the dollar rack or whatever, I'm going to definitely get that, and I'm going to look up where the anthology is, so I can get some more of these, the continuation, and really see if there's some answers in this crazy thing. So I'm going to give this Twilight People an 8. So if you've read it, let me know what you guys think, and I wonder if you think I give it an appropriate grade. So if you are new to the channel and haven't come across us before, I go over indie comics from the 70s, 80s, 90s, really any kind of weird stuff that I like. And that includes some Marvel and DC stuff. There's a really great amount of Marvel and DC stuff that is really worth looking at, even if you're only interested in the indie stuff. Yeah, so I'm giving Twilight People an 8. And please consider subscribing, hitting the notification bell, and all of that cool stuff. But more important than that, I really like the comments from you guys, and I 100% enjoy that more than anything else. I really love talking about comics with you guys, and whether or not you like this stuff or whether or not you don't like this stuff. So, the beginning of the week, check out my next videos. Next video is with Joe Leonardo, and we're going over a couple of new comics, new artists. Last week or a week and a half ago, we looked over Will Sportacio and Rob Liefeld, and there's a poll up that you can check out and cast your vote for who you like better. And this Wednesday, we're going to be going over one of my very favorite comic artists, David Mazzucchelli, and one of Joe's favorite artists in Michael Turner. I really love Michael Turner too. So it's really going to be a fun look at both of those artists, and it'll be fun to see what you guys think about in the poll. So again, throw down a comment and let me know what you guys think about this. And as always, keep on creating.